Welcome to the JD Remedy. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the JD Remedy. It's been a week, guys. It's been full on. I have had a little bit of a slow week. When I say slow week, I mean in terms of like mental health and just how I feel in general. And I always like to be open and honest with you guys. So yeah, this week has just been a little bit all over the place. So forgive me if I missed a week. I apologize. I'm looking after myself. But I am here. I am back. I've got a really good rec for you guys this week and a good topic to talk about, which needs to be spoken about. So we'll get into that in a moment. So my rec for you guys this week actually comes in two parts. So the first part I would recommend you guys watch is, I think it's called Diana's Story. I really need to be clear on what things are called before I recommend them. Okay, so it's on Netflix and it's called The Story of Diana. It is a 2-part series, so 2 hour and something videos. It's in the form of a documentary, and there are obviously similar videos or similar documentaries and stories like this one. So if you've watched this kind of thing before, you'll probably know the backstory and her story in general and where she came from and what it was like growing up. And then it takes you through her experience with Prince Charles and what it was like to be married to him and her mental health and eating disorders and everything that she went through, even post-divorce and obviously right up until she died in a car accident. So that in itself, I want to recommend it because I've always been super fascinated by her and her story. And I think her just being the first person to kind of be herself in the royal family and just put her foot down and be like, no, fuck you guys, in itself is a great story. But the reason I wanted to recommend it is obviously because the Oprah interview with Harry and Meghan came out. And I'm so in love with it because I know how much Diana would appreciate him putting his family first and just saying no to all the bullshit that comes with the monarchy. And a lot of people gave them so much shit for them stepping down and, you know, just her in general and the racism and everything that came with who she was and Harry's choices and things like that. But to get a little bit of, I suppose, an understanding as to the position they're in and to feel the empathy for them, knowing Diana's story and her background. Once you've watched that or listened to it, it makes so much sense for what Harry is doing and why he's choosing to do what he does. He's definitely his mother's son. I think it's so beautiful that, you know, she's passed on those morals and those values to her children. I think it's beautiful that the princesses, obviously Kate and Meghan, have continued to be a people's princess in terms of the community and how they interact and what they stand for. I think it's just gorgeous. So that is my rec for the week. I haven't really been obsessed with any series. I've just kind of been watching random stuff. It's just been one of those weeks, but I did watch The Story of Diana. And then, obviously, I did watch the Oprah interview when I got back from Brisbane as well. But to give you guys a context, if it's the first time you're listening to the royals or anything like that, I know for a lot of people our age and even younger, like Gen X. Is it Gen X or Gen Z? Gen Z? Are they the youngest? I don't know about any of that stuff. But the real younger people that are coming online, I don't think they even know who Diana is or the story or what happened and that kind of thing. So I think a lot of people should have some context before watching the Oprah interview. So definitely watch them together. If you haven't really seen Diana and her story, watch that to give you some context for the Oprah interview, and then you'll appreciate Meghan and Harry so much more. Okay, something I want to talk about today. You might have seen the movement online floating around, and it has to do with women's safety and what we go through in general, what we're afraid of, why we go to these, necessary but drastic measures sometimes to keep ourselves safe or just preempt the possibility of what could happen to us. I think it's amazing that we can use social media to bring awareness to things, especially topics like this. I think it's something that more and more is coming to light, and people standing up for themselves. And I hate to put like the feminist label on it, but I think it does give females a voice and to speak out and say, this is what it's like for us. We live every day with not fear. For some people it's fear, but we live every day kind of boxed in. Like, we don't live life to the absolute fullest in fear of what could potentially happen to us. I feel like we're a lot more vulnerable than some. And I thought I was just paranoid because I watch a lot of crime documentaries and, murder documentaries and things like that. So I see all this shit that happens to females and they're taken advantage of, and the horrible, horrible things that women have gone through in the past and still do go through. So I thought I was just like super sensitive to it all because I just surround myself with this kind of stuff and this knowledge. So I thought I was just paranoid. I didn't realize that a lot of females walk around with keys in their hand or, check their backseat in their car. Like, these are just a couple of things. But to see this movement on social media, even for a girl, is to be like, fuck, like other people are just as scared as I am. Like, it makes me feel not crazy. It makes me feel like my worries and my concerns are validated and I have a right to feel this way. We don't just wake up in the morning and decide that we're afraid of men. Like, there's a reason that this is such a concern. And yes, men are saying it's not all men. Like, of course it's not. Of course it's not. But it's like, I saw this thing, people were trying to give an analogy or a metaphor as to what we mean, why we get angry when people say it's not all men. What did she say? It's like having a box of 10 chocolates and someone tells you that 9 out of 10 of those chocolates are actually shit, like poop covered in wrapping paper. Would you chance eating any of those chocolates, or would you just assume to keep yourself safe that they're all shit? And I love that. It's like, we don't just see a man following us on the side of the road and be like, he's probably one of the good ones. No, we just assume that he's going to do the absolute worst just so we can prepare ourselves and we can put ourselves out of harm's way. That's the way that I am anyway. Just assume that everybody is going to murder you and hurt you and, like, obviously we don't abuse them or anything, but like, if I choose to walk away from a male or cross the road when I'm walking by myself or anything like that, of course I'm going to put myself first and just assume the worst, because I'd rather do that than be naive and just think that everybody's a really fantastic person and is going to take care of me. Like, when people say like, oh, it's not all men, I get the vibes of all lives matter. Like, of course they do, but your house isn't on fire right now. The black community's house is on fire right now. It's the same. Like, of course all genders matter and all genders need to be safe and looked after, but more women are being abused and are afraid and easy to take advantage of. Like, we're not trying to be sexist or anything. We're just saying this is the concern right now and this is the topic right now, and it's just bringing awareness. Like, we're not discrediting any gender or any male and saying all of you are the same, like fuck you all. We're just trying to bring awareness to how we live our everyday lives based off everything that has happened so far. And yes, of course this happens to men as well. We're not taking away from anyone's trauma or anything like that. We're just trying to bring awareness to what we go through. And a good example is, I had a conversation with one of my family members the other day, and he inboxed me because I had been sharing a lot of posts about, some of the stuff we do in our daily routines to keep out of harm's way. And he messaged me, and it was the sense of the conversation was he wanted to know more. Like, he wanted to educate himself. He didn't understand like he was obviously reading all of the posts, but he didn't understand like what is going on, like what sparked this, what happened. And I tried to explain to him where this is kind of stemmed from. Like, obviously it's been happening for such a long time, but this is what happens when one serious occurrence happens and there's an uproar. It's like a domino effect online. So you're just seeing a lot of people just jump on the train like, yes, this happens to me too, or yes, oh my God, I go through this and I worry about this and this happened to this person I know. And I don't think it's to say that we're more important than anyone else. It's to bring awareness to what the fuck is going on. Because for people like my family member that was like, I don't understand. Like, I think a lot of men are not like this. Like, they would never dream of doing that. But do you know what your sister goes through, or your friend or your cousin or your mum or any female that you know? Do you know what they're going through in their day-to-day life? And, you know, you may not have had someone in your life that's gone through anything dangerous like that, or God forbid, you know someone that's done that to a female. Do you know what I mean? So I think bringing awareness to it, and the more men that know the seriousness of this and know what's going on can hopefully keep an eye out for this behavior. Like if you're in a nightclub, or if you're walking home and you see a woman in distress, or you report things, you know, like you just hopefully bringing awareness to it is keeping everybody safe. And, you know, it's just education in general. And you teach your children the right thing to do, you know, like that shit is not fucking tolerated. And I don't think I need to go into detail about the behaviors that I'm talking about that females go through, like, you know, right? I think we've all seen enough horrific news stories and articles online, just about anything to do with violence, like domestic violence or sexual assault or anything that makes a woman uncomfortable or inappropriateness. Like this post that I shared the other day actually shed light, and it's helping females have that voice and have that protection. The post was about the following people are a part of the problem. And it's not like you don't have to sexually assault a woman to be the problem. I'm going to read some of them because they're fucked. So I'll rattle off a couple, and this is the point we're trying to make. Like, this is the position that we're put in because we feel vulnerable and we feel like we don't have a voice, and it's become too much of the norm where people that do these things that I'm about to read don't think that it's a problem. And that's what we're trying to get at. Like, we're bringing awareness. It doesn't have to go as far as sexual assault, although that is obviously the worst of the problems. This shit that I'm about to read as well is so much a part of the problem. And if you think it's okay that you or anyone in your circle and you witness people doing this to a female, or anyone obviously in general, but if you're not pulling people up on it, or you're saying that's bad behavior, or, you know, teaching your kids and instilling these kind of values, like that is part of the problem. We'll never get away from this fear or this violence or this trauma, you know what I mean, if we aren't standing up and saying this is fucking wrong and this is inappropriate and this is disgusting behavior, right? People need to be held accountable for their actions. And that's where a lot of the uproar comes from, because so much of this is happening in our society and to people we know and we love, yet a lot of the time there's no consequences. People aren't held accountable or responsible for what they do, because it's such a what's the word I'm looking for? Like an under the rug topic. And a lot of people in power, there have been women, but a lot of men in power get away with a lot. Like the Harvey Weinsteins of the fucking world, and, you know, Jeffrey Epstein and all that kind of shit. Like, obviously they're coming to justice, but for how long? Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of shit. Okay. It was a little bit of a tangent there, but said what I said. So let's read some of these. So this is in reference, just a reminder to the not all men. So let's clarify which men or which type of male is a part of the problem and you're contributing to the behavior. So let's bring awareness to it. Okay. I'm going to put a trigger warning for these, just in case obviously you've been through anything traumatic due to, you know, sexual assault, anything distressing like that, or violence, or anything that might trigger you just for the next couple of minutes. Your mate who knew his girlfriend was too drunk to say yes or no, but had sexual intercourse with her anyway. The guy who didn't care that she wasn't feeling it because he bought dinner and deserved something in return. People who grope you or grab you without your consent. The victim blamers, the slut shamers, the ones who make rape jokes, people who catcall or shout things out from cars, the ones who think that women speaking about this is we're just angry and feminists. People that send unsolicited dick pics. People that try and get a female really drunk on a night out so that they're less likely to put up a fight or have any inhibitions. People that always say it's just a joke after doing something inappropriate. People that think a certain person deserved to be raped or assaulted. People that say she was asking for it or make a comment about what she was wearing when she was assaulted. People that touch females inappropriately, unnecessarily, like placing your hand on my lower back or my hips or touching me anywhere without my consent just because you're passing by and need to get around me. People that have pride and an ego about how many females they've slept with or their conquests. People that think blue balls are a medical condition. People that share nudes that were only meant for that person. People that have the excuse, I was just being friendly. Like there's about 5 pages. There's 67 of these comments, like in this picture that I shared. You get where I'm going. Like you don't have to go as far as physically assaulting someone. You're part of the problem, or you're making the problems and the behaviors normal, or we're covering it up and we're making society think that it's okay to make jokes about that kind of stuff or anything I just listed off. If you have ever done that, or you've witnessed a friend do that, or you've heard someone talking about doing any of that stuff, like it's your responsibility to step in and say that's inappropriate or you're part of the problem. Like we need to stop people from making this the norm because it's disgusting. I'm going to talk about a couple of things that I do, and I thought I was, the only one because I thought I was just paranoid, but no, apparently a lot of females go through this. And I told my family member this and he was like pretty upset. He's like, no way, really? Like that's really hard to hear. So I like fast-paced walk to my car in broad daylight. And I look behind my shoulder because I'm just terrified that someone's following me to my car. And while it takes me time to press my key button and open the door and put my bag in and get in that time, someone's going to come up behind me and grab me and like throw me in the car or grab me and take me and put me in their car, like anything. I'm just paranoid and high alert. So, I do that. When I'm walking by myself, if it's like dusk or during the day even, and I'm uncomfortable or I'm not aware of my surroundings, I will have my keys in my hand. I don't know if I would ever, it's not my intention to hurt people, but obviously self-defense. Like if anything happened, I have that resource in my hand. I have researched online self-defense weapons. Like you can buy little kitty knuckle things for your hands to like put on your keychain. You can buy little pepper sprays. Like I don't know if any of that's legal, but like the fact that I've gone out of my way to look at what can I have in my possession for self-defense speaks volumes. Like this is the kind of shit that females do, right? I've said openly all the time I want to do self-defense classes. The fact that I would pay money to go to a class to learn how to physically defend myself. And I even follow channels on TikTok about specific scenarios. Like if a person comes up to you and grabs you by the throat and puts you against a wall, this is how you defend yourself. Or if you are ever taken and your hands are put together with cable ties, this is how you get out. Like it's very specific scenarios that I am terrified of because we're vulnerable, like we're easily taken advantage of. And I want to be in a position to be like, if any of that stuff does happen, which is possible, 100%. I live in one of the safest countries of the world, but I'm not taking any chances. Like a lot of the crime documentaries I've watched, people die in the Australian outback, okay? Like it fucking happens everywhere. I train in my gym in the girls only section because it makes me super uncomfortable when males stare at my body while I'm training. And there's a difference between like looking and then looking away and, that's it. You can't help but look, and then you look away. Like that's respectful. You look away. You don't fucking stare and be rude. But I'm talking about gawking, where you cannot they do not take their eyes off you. They laugh. They look at their friends. They talk. You can see them pointing at me, like super fucking uncomfortable. You don't see girls standing there like catcalling boys or any of this disgusting shit. Like I don't understand why they think that's okay to make a female feel that uncomfortable. Like the amount of times I've walked past a construction site in the city by myself, and there's like 6 construction workers and just myself. I walk past and I get whistled at, oh baby, or look at that ass, or whatever it is. If you think that that's fucking appropriate and respectful, like you're a disgusting pig. Like stop. And for that girl, I don't think a guy will ever understand how insignificant and small and disgusting a female feels in that moment when you're being catcalled by a group of males and you're by yourself. Like, I can't help you understand how that makes us feel. Obviously, I can't talk for every female, but just my own experiences, right? It's fucked. And don't get me started on Ubers, right? Like, I always drive places when I know that I'm going to have to come back by myself, because I would rather not drink and not enjoy myself and come home in my own car than risk getting in a fucking Uber by myself. And the fact that we have to think about that shit pisses me off, right? Like you hear those horrible stories of girls getting attacked in Ubers when they're by themselves, when they're drunk and they get taken advantage of. They get driven to the middle of nowhere, and like, I just can't. Like, I have taken Ubers home before, and I have to go to the measures of I send my location. So a friend follows my Uber on her phone while I'm in the car. I call someone, so I'm on the phone, so they know where I am as well. And I make sure I sit behind their seat in the Uber, because apparently it's harder to be grabbed if they have to reach behind them as opposed to diagonally across the seat or next to them in the front seat. I bet a guy doesn't get into a fucking Uber and they're like, let me just call my boys and tell them where I am, or can you track my location, bro? Or I'm going to sit in the back seat behind the driver so he doesn't attack me. And again, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen to boys, but I'm saying it's the mentality of us girls living in fear of what if, or let me just avoid this scenario completely. The fact that there are viral TikToks going around of a voiceover that you can play in the Uber. So the Uber driver thinks you're meeting people, or, you know, people are expecting you. So if you were to not show up, it would be a problem. Like, you know what viral TikToks I'm talking about, right? Where it's like, hey girl, your boyfriend's here waiting for you. Yeah, would you want me to get you a drink? I can't wait to see you in 10 minutes or whatever the Uber is. Like, the fact that we have to think to play that in an Uber because we can't get from destination A to B without freaking the fuck out about our safety. We cannot take a ride share without fearing for our lives. Just let that sink in for a second. If you could live, if a boy, this is what pisses me off about guys being like, it's not about you guys, like, you know, it happens to boys too. It's not all men. It's like, we fucking know that, right? But do you comprehend where the fuck we're coming from? Like, I would love to see a boy live like a week in a female's shoes, but have to go through and be put in every scenario that a female would. I'd like to see you walk around, go for your nightly jog with headphones in and tell me how safe you feel. Go to the gym and stand in the middle of a free weight section in peak hour with boys and do some deadlifts and tell me how you feel. Walk past that construction site by yourself and tell me how you feel. Get in a fucking Uber by yourself at night when you've had a couple of drinks and you're a little bit not with it. What's the word I'm looking for? Tell me how you feel. And then fucking come at me with your defense comments and whatever else their problem is at the moment. It's not all about you, you know, not all men. Okay, bro. Because you're speaking from fucking experience. You know what I'm saying? The text me when you're home movement, I'm getting vibes from the Me Too movement, you know, of females coming together and standing up for something like, we're not going to take this shit anymore. Like, fuck you guys. Do you know how we feel? Bringing awareness to the topic. And we're not out here trying to be like, fuck you, you're a boy, and like start World War III between genders. We're just saying, guys, like, if you're one of the good ones and you're listening, like, this is what your homegirl is going through. Like, this is what your sister feels on a daily basis. This is what your mum or your friend that's a girl or your girlfriend, like, please understand, like, this is where we're coming from. The world is not safe. Like, I like to think it is, and I'm very privileged living in one of the safer countries, but it still happens. Like, I'm still fucking terrified. I can't imagine living in other places, like, especially in countries like where there was an Australian air hostess that was flying from Dubai back home to Australia, and she was sexually assaulted or raped in Dubai, and the Australian embassy said, do not tell anyone that you've been raped over there. Do not tell anyone. Get the fuck on the next plane and come back to Australia. Like, I don't know if this is right politically or legally or whatever. This is just the story I'm saying, right? Because over there, if you have sex and you're not married, even if you're raped, you will be thrown in jail. So what I'm saying is, I'm very privileged in Australia compared to other places. Like, this is happening all around the world, obviously, to extreme extents. So I'm on the lower end of the danger zone. But a little bit off topic, but it gives you some context as to how other females feel in other countries. Like, we're over here like, oh, you're catcalling me and I feel uncomfortable, which 100% we have every right to. But, you know, other places, to give you a bit of context what females go through in general, like, it's fucked up. It's really fucked up. It's scary being a female. So I think the same with the Me Too movement. It's the text me when you get home movement. If you haven't seen it online, probably search the hashtag and you'll see a lot of information on it. I hope if you're a boy listening or you are oblivious to this as a female and you want to educate yourself or tell your partner about it, fucking search the hashtag and have a look what is out there for educational purposes. Start the conversation at a family function or with your partner sitting on the couch or whoever you want to educate and bring this awareness. I think it's so fucking important because for people like my family member that reached out, he's not a bad person. But the fact that he wants to learn more and is like, tell me what you go through. If I've had that conversation with him now and he's out and he sees a girl that looks super uncomfortable or, you know, just bringing awareness to it, he can then go, oh, I wonder what that girl's going through. Like, I'm going to help or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. But awareness, education, and just fucking support, man. Like, help us. Help us. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Went on a little bit of a tangent, but it's super important. This topic is so important, and I'm so happy it's coming out a little bit more. And that's, again, the good thing about social media is we don't have an opportunity to ignore it. It's just fucking plastered everywhere. It's in your face. That's the point of coming together, right? So educate yourselves, bring awareness, have the conversation. All right, guys, where you can follow me. I do have a Facebook group for this podcast, specifically for me to post episodes. You guys can ask questions. We can have conversations around anything I talk about in the episodes. It's a way for you to reach out and connect. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and my Facebook group as Jade Delpup, JAYDEDELPUP. Subscribe, connect, reach out if you want a little chat. Let me know what you think about today's topic. I'm sure we all have a lot to say, so I'd love to hear you guys. I want to give you guys a platform to talk about it. So let me know how you go watching the story of Diana and then your thoughts on the Meghan and Harry interview as well. But thank you guys so much for tuning in this week, and I will see you next week. Bye.